We're very pleased to have Duarte, Silva, and Janice Costello here. They'll be talking about the California Foreign Language Project. Duarte is the executive director of this project, which is housed at Stanford University, and they tell me that the previous panel was just an excellent lead-in to what they are about to share with us. So I'm excited to hear their terrific follow-up. Please welcome Duarte and Janice.
Thank you very much. I know some of you are still getting your coffee and getting settled back. We placed some handouts so you can follow our PowerPoint presentation in the center of your tables, and also another handout that is an exemplar of one of our programs. So this should be in the center of the table so you can follow the PowerPoint. The lighting here in this room is not ideal for a dark background PowerPoint, but we'll try to do the best we can to move along. So give you a couple more minutes to find the things. And if you need some extra handouts, because we sort of just gauge how many of you were sitting at each table, we have some more back here. So if anybody needs one, you can just raise your hand, particularly of the PowerPoint handout, so you don't have to take notes and just have the information. Just raise your hand if you need. Good. Okay. As we were introduced, we are from the California Foreign Language Project. I direct the project statewide, and Janice Costello directs the project that actually serves this region. And that was one of the reasons that we sort of paired each other, so we would have a little bit of the broad view of what we do, and also that Janice could sort of center and particularly talk about some of the programs that are designed to serve teachers in this particular region here. As was said before, we think that this is a very nice continuum from the last panel, because you framed a lot of issues and questions that we may not have the answers to, but at least we're struggling with those answers and trying to respond to exactly some of the questions and issues that you framed in your last discussion, because there was a lot of questions about articulation and teacher development, teacher training, and all of the things that become extremely important for successful language programs to take place in the schools. I also note that most of us in this room, or a great part of us, were in China just a week ago, and we were exploring the wonderful programs that we had the opportunity to visit in the different schools and be hosted by students that spoke perfect English. And they were going from Chinese to English, which has to be just as difficult as going from English to Chinese. And they had mastered the language to a level that we were all extremely impressed. And these students were being our guides at the schools, and some of them were elementary school students, some of them were middle school students, and some of them were high school students just about to go to the university. And one of the questions that we got from the students, as well as from the officials that we were meeting with at these schools, were, why is it that only 24,000 students in the United States are studying Chinese, while 2 million of us are studying English? We did not have good answers to those questions at all, except we have a lot of work to do to catch up. We really need to get moving to try to, balance the imbalance that exists in the teaching and learning of Chinese or Mandarin in the United States, and the incredible effort that's going on to teach English in China. The good news is that the Chinese government is very willing, extremely willing and generous to help us get the job done. And throughout our stay in China, there was nothing but goodwill towards how can we help you to get those numbers up, to get more students studying Mandarin Chinese in the United States. And we will do anything that we can possibly do to support you in your efforts. And in supporting that effort, one of the things that we're talked about a lot is, in the last panel alluded to it, is we do not have a lot of teachers in California or in the United States that are ready to teach Chinese. And if we are going to jumpstart this, like we have done with other languages in the past, we probably need to import Chinese teachers, individuals, from China that will come over, and they are eager to come over and help us with this, and help us to get these programs going until we can grow our own teachers, we can credential them and everything else. There's lots of obstacles to do that. We heard about CBEST, we heard about CSET, we heard about CTC, NCLB, all those obstacles, in our bureaucracy that will play a big role here, because all those things need to be negotiated. And it's very hard for the Chinese to understand all these things that are sort of roadblocks to those teachers playing a role in our society. But I believe we can do that. And one thing that became apparent, I visited 10 schools while I was in China for about 8 days, very, very busy schedule. And I saw both Mandarin being taught to foreign students, as well as English as a foreign language being taught. And one thing that became very apparent is that if we are going to import teachers from China, we're going to need to spend a lot of time with professional development of those teachers so they can be successful in our schools in the United States. Our students are very different. Our schools are very different. Their colleagues will be very different and will look at education very differently. Our communities, our parent expectations are extremely, extremely different. So I believe through professional development and good orientation programs, we can ensure that those teachers that come over to teach Mandarin in our schools can be successful. And we have done this for this is no different than other teachers that have come from Mexico or Spain or Belgium or France and Germany that come here to teach a foreign language. They all need a lot of support and a lot of orientation to the culture of American students and the culture of American schools. So the California Foreign Language Project has been doing this for a while, and we are actually a part of a much bigger effort, and it's called the California Subject Matter Project. And the California Subject Matter Project is a large enterprise in the state of California that has the responsibility to assist schools, school districts, and communities to improve teacher quality in all of the subject areas. We are just one of the areas that the Subject Matter Project supports as sort of a systemic effort. We heard about fragmentation in the last panel, and we are trying to provide a coherent approach to professional development and support, in our case, to the teachers that teach language and culture, but of course in mathematics and English language arts and all the other areas. It is established by the legislation, and it is funded by the legislation in part. It's a big collaborative that depends on a lot of sources of funding coming together to make it happen. Now, it really is focused on improving teaching and learning in the classroom. The classroom is the unit of analysis. We do everything else in support of program planning, curriculum planning, evaluation, assessment, everything in support of what goes on at the classroom level. What we're very interested in is that interaction between curriculum, teacher, and student, how it comes together in a classroom. If it doesn't come together at the instructional level, everything else falls apart. And all the planning is futile at that moment. We're very, very committed to systemic reform in language teaching. We have done a horrible job in language teaching in the United States up to this point. And we do not want to repeat the same errors and mistakes that we have done with all the other languages as we embark in expanding our programs in Mandarin or Chinese. The subject matter projects, they have 9 content networks. Basically, the arts, English language arts, foreign language, mathematics, and sciences. I have to tell you that the funding for these programs match our societal values regarding languages. Most of the money goes into mathematics, and science and English language arts, but primarily reading, to help our teachers, to help our students to be better readers. And foreign language does not come as a priority. With all of your help here and the help of the Chinese government, we are trying to make that a higher priority and to say languages are critical, languages are important, and we need to be sort of an equal, footing when it comes to funding in our state. Yet, it hasn't happened yet, because we do not value, the teaching and learning of languages, certainly not as the Chinese do, and certainly not as Europeans do. So we do not get as many resources to put into program, but we do get some, and we leverage those, and in collaboration with all of you, I think we can make great things happen. Trying to move forward. Now, there's some fundamental beliefs that the legislation set forth that we all have to adhere to. If we are, working with language teachers or math teachers or science teachers and so forth, and we really believe, and in red, I thought red was going to stand out more. In this case, it doesn't, but you can read it in your handout. It says all students deserve highly qualified teachers. And in order to have highly qualified teachers, we need to have ongoing support after they arrive at a particular school. I know that Cal State LA has a wonderful teacher training program, but those teachers will come out with beginning teaching skills in year 1. And year 2, they have different needs. Year 3, they have different needs. Year 5, they have different needs. Year 20th, they have different needs. And we have sort of developed a progression, and there's standards for every level, what a beginning teacher needs to do, what an mid-career teacher needs to know and be able to do, and usually there's an opportunity there for revisiting the content area that teacher needs to teach, because it's always evolving, it's very dynamic. As you pointed out, language is dynamic, it changes, it becomes archaic, so you need to acquaint yourself with the new language and so forth. In our case, mathematics, science, technology and so forth. So that's very important for mid-career. It's a different set of needs. Beginning teachers need a lot of help with classroom management, with lesson planning, those kinds of things. That's not an issue for mid-career. And then there's accomplished teachers, national board certified teachers, that they have different needs and they really need to polish their skills and begin to share what they know with other teachers. So there's a whole set of beliefs that we have to adhere to. Notice that none are more important than instructional practices supported by increased student achievement. That is the true measure of our success. When we work with teachers, we love to see them demonstrate at a conference or in a workshop or in their classrooms a model lesson. Yet, we're not satisfied with just the teacher being able to demonstrate a model lesson. What we're satisfied is how well his or her students are performing, in our case, in the language. So we have developed a whole battery of assessments that are proficiency-oriented assessments that parallel the real world and how students would do in the language in authentic cultural contexts, in professional settings. This whole thing is about preparing a workforce, this whole conference. So in focusing here, how would the student do in a particular professional setting? Would he or she have the language to do this? So therefore, what are the expectations for elementary school programs? What are the expectations for middle school? What are the expectations for high school? The university level and so forth, and making sure that we're meeting these expectations so we can indeed produce these individuals that can interact with these culturally as well as linguistically in professional settings. Now, we have some goals, regional goals for quality professional development. We sort of set some standards. What is the kind of professional development that our teachers need in order to carry out the kind of instruction that will produce these equally coordinate bilinguals in society? So we spend a lot of time doing what we call needs assessments. And only you can do needs assessment by looking at student data in a classroom, or what, what they are able to produce, and observing teachers and looking at curriculum. Curriculum alone doesn't do it. It's that wonderful interaction between curriculum, teacher, and student. Now, the content of the professional development program, we're very concerned, first and foremost, that teachers know the subjects that they teach. In our case, Mandarin Chinese. If those teachers don't have a high level of competence in Mandarin Chinese and culture, they're probably not going to be very good teachers of Mandarin Chinese. The same goes for mathematics. The same goes for English language arts and reading. So our professional development is content specific. Then there's pedagogical skills. That's why I am very excited about importing teachers from China, because their content is going to be intact. Their language and culture is going to be there 100%. Now they need pedagogical skills. I can tell you it's a lot easier. It's much easier to teach someone pedagogical skills and how to teach something than to teach someone who doesn't have the content level in a one-week workshop. It doesn't happen in language. And that's what's a little difficult. For my colleagues in mathematics and science, you really can't teach certain concepts, new concepts in science or in mathematics in a week or in a college course. Language takes a lot long to acquire. So, for someone who's learning the language, it's not at that advanced or superior level. It's very, very hard to put that together in a particular one-week institute. Pedagogically, you can do a lot. We really can do a lot in a week institute, 40-hour institute, a program series during the year. See what I am. We have lots of different models of professional development. Some of them are academic year programs. We love those, and we particularly in CFLP, we adhere more to programs in which teachers come during the academic year. Why? Because they come for one day, they have the opportunity to go and implement that in the classroom, come back a month later, debrief, and bring student work into that context and see, here's what my students were able to produce as a result of what I learned. We analyze that and we move on. The other reason we in CFLP, because in mathematics and English language arts, most of the energy is done in a summer institute, like in a 1 week or 2 weeks in the summer, or 3 weeks for the writing project and so forth. And that's good. It's a concentrated amount of time. But what we like to do is to encourage our teachers themselves to go abroad in the summer and acquire more of that language and cultural content, and even more so, to take their students abroad. So when you look at our programs, like on a website, you're going to say, wow, they're not offering as much as math is in the summer. That's because we really like to leave the month of July free for our teachers to go abroad. And we like to also try to acquire the resources to help these teachers go abroad, via grants from the federal government, from professional organizations, Business Roundtable, and so forth. So we have a whole set of programs and organizations that we can do. And we partner with local schools and school districts to do specific programs, contracted services with those programs in order to meet the specific needs of the teachers in that particular district. Now, let's sort of just focus now a little bit more just on what the California Foreign Language Program does here. We have sort of come around 3 basic principles, our role. And this was not done in isolation. This was done in a lot of conversation with language teachers and with a lot of support from our advisory board. We have a 15-member panel or advisory board that really helps us think what is our next logical step in working with teachers in California. Now, Arlene Burns, who was introduced earlier, she sits on our board. She represents the California Department of Education on our board. There's 2 individuals that represent the University of California on our board. So and there's the California State University is represented on our board. the independent colleges and universities, the community colleges, and so forth. So we have sort of a think tank group of folks that come together and sort of think what should be our priorities. And these are the three main elements of our mission or our vision statement right now. You can see that basically it can be summarized with one word. It's advocacy. Because unlike the other subject areas, we still have to make the case for the teaching of languages and cultures. And we heard from the parent, I believe it was, that the district is considering an after-school program. The other parent saying, I cannot find a program for my 2-year-old, the preschool program. So while mathematics, nobody questions if the school is going to offer mathematics or science or English language arts. They will question if they're going to have a language program. And if they have a language program, is it something besides Spanish? And there's nothing wrong with Spanish, but we really feel that there should be a range of languages, and particularly the languages that are represented by the individuals in our particular community. The heritage languages, present in the community should be reflected in the school's teaching curriculum. And I agree with you, after-school programs are certainly not the ideal model. They are better than nothing, but certainly we want to go for something more systemic that is part of the school day. And with the models that we have right now in dual immersion and immersion, you can combine the subject areas, you can teach those subjects in a target language, and the students can get literally, 2 for 1, and make genuine progress in the academic area. They can also acquire the language. There's a lot of research to indicate that these students actually, acquire both the subject area and the language at the same level. You need very skilled teachers to do that. It doesn't happen automatically, but it can be done. There's a whole set of priorities that we have to contend with, and some of those are listed there. The California Department of Education literally sets the pace for what is to be taught in the foreign language curriculum. This comes via standards. I'm sure Arlene Burns is going to be talking about this later on. We're still waiting for our foreign language standards. They're still they are to be adopted, yes. They're not there yet, but they are in progress, and we've done some work towards bringing them out. But there's a framework, and there's state board adopted materials. So, it sets sort of a vision for what the curriculum content needs to be. CTC, the Commission on Teaching Preparation, sets a vision for what a beginning teacher coming out of our institutions needs to know and be able to do. We were, involved in developing the Mandarin CSET test. We were involved in developing all 11 of them, and now we're just about to embark on developing the Arabic one and the Filipino one and a couple more that, languages that are critical to our well-being. So there's a whole set of priorities here. We also collaborate a lot with the different consulates and office and of international affairs from the different governments in order to bring this together, because it's those individuals who can provide us with authentic models for the content and the culture, because we're very good at pedagogy, but right now we are hard-pressed to have individuals who are prepared academically in the subject area of Mandarin, okay? So we really need to partner with all of you who have these resources and see what we can bring to the table, what you can bring to the table, and how we can provide an opportunity for teachers of Mandarin to increase and strengthen their practices in the classroom. I said before that we're trying to be systemic about this. And in order to be systemic, you have to take the whole state of California, and that's a big state to serve. We have divided it in 15 different service regions. Not us, it's the same for all the other subject areas. Unfortunately, for foreign languages, we only have about 9 sites, and some of them are even affiliated sites to cover the whole state. Now, for mathematics, English language arts, and science, there's at least 1 site per region, meaning 15. Actually, for mathematics, there's like 17. For science, there's like 18. There's like 2 and 3 because Los Angeles is enormous. In the Bay Area, I think there's 3 science projects in this area because there's a tremendous need and so forth. Well, we have to do cover it, each one of our sites has to cover at least 2 or 3 regions of the state. So we're stretched to the max. That's why we really need to collaborate with a lot of folks. However, we wanted to make sure that every teacher in the state of California, no matter where they live, had access to our programs. So we try very, very hard to provide statewide access here. We also work with teachers of English learners. In California, and particularly in certain areas of the state, English learners are a major part of the student population. And because we are in a language teaching business, we have a lot to offer to those teachers as well. So we work in literacy development, we work with teachers of English learners, and because we believe that not only we have some expertise to share, but it's the responsibility of the teachers of foreign language to contribute to the overall goals of the school. And there's not a single school in this state that is not concerned with issues of literacy for all of its students. So we really need to look at the foreign language curriculum and the foreign language program and be able to demonstrate to the school boards, the superintendent, and the principal how the foreign language program is contributing to the overall literacy goals of that particular school. So our teachers that participate in our programs go through a process of saying, how can we contribute? In 2 weeks, when we're doing our leadership seminar, there's a whole strand devoted to how can we build literacy skills in the foreign language classroom. This is particularly important for the programs that we offer to heritage speakers and native speakers of Spanish and Chinese and Vietnamese and Korean. That's where most of the native speaker programs are. And some of those students who are native speakers of Spanish, for example, are also English learners. They're acquiring English at the same time as they are making the kind of progress that the first panel referred to, and because you need to have that intellectual development going on in your L1 in order to do well in your L2 and hopefully even your L3. So therefore, our teachers who teach in those heritage or native programs really need to have a good understanding of how this whole language, learning and development comes together. I can just go through and tell you what our sites are located and the areas that they live. You have that in your handout, but you can see that in this area we have the Greater Bay Area Foreign Language Project, sort of located at Stanford University, and is sort of co-sponsored by San Jose State University. And it has the Bay Area Foreign Language Program, which is based at Stanford, the East Bay Foreign Language Project based at St. Mary's that Jen is going to be talking to you about. And then there's the Monterey Bay, located at CSU Monterey, and they serve the teachers in those particular counties. So it's very, very important that we literally cover the state, but as I said before, it's very, very hard. For example, one project in Los Angeles to cover not only LA County, which is huge, as you know, but also the entire Inland Empire, which is Riverside and San Bernardino County. And it's one of the fastest growing areas of the state. Lots of language teachers coming in. They are the new teachers, and they are the ones that need a lot of professional development. Our project in Los Angeles happens to be at Occidental College and work with teachers from all over the region. But it's a challenge, in particular in that particular region, to do that. Our Sacramento project serves half of San Joaquin Valley, as well as all the way up to the Chico area. So it's another challenge to cover the entire state here. Now, I already talked a little bit about how we sort of, render our programs here, and there's anything we will not consider doing for the school or the school district, either as a contracted services or as a program that the districts, come together and say, we really need help in this area. Because if there's a particular need in a particular district, it's going to emerge as a need in other districts. Now, the East Bay Foreign Language Project, as I said earlier, is located right here in this area at St. Mary's. And I'm going to turn it over to Janice so she can give you sort of how does this look like on the ground, on a particular site, so that you get an idea how we work and the kinds of programs we offer in support of language teachers. Janice?
No, I just wanted to make sure we were in the right place. Good morning. I'm so pleased to be with you today. And I hope to give you or provide for you an overview of the role that the East Bay Foreign Language Project plays in carrying out the mission of the CSMPs, the California Subject Matter Projects, and the California Foreign Language Project. The East Bay Project is only one example of the work that CFLP sites do throughout the state to carry out these missions. What worked? Thank you. The East Bay Project offers professional development programs, opportunities to foreign language teachers in Alameda, Contra Costa, and Solano counties. Teachers from the other CFLP sites, as Duarte mentioned, Stanford and Monterey Bay, are also welcome to participate in our programs, as our participants are welcome to participate in theirs. Site programs and activities, again, take place at St. Mary's College in Moraga. The programs are developed, planned, and delivered through the collaborative work of myself as the site director and members of our leadership team. Guidance to the site is provided by a principal investigator from St. Mary's College. The leadership team members all hold advanced degrees in the languages that they teach. And a St. Mary's faculty member, who is an expert and specialist in second language acquisition, is also a leadership team member working with our teachers in development of academic literacy for English learners. 4 members of our leadership team are also National Board Certified Teachers of Languages other than English, and we're especially proud of them. The programs for the academic year program goals are to support teachers' implementation of the California Foreign Language Framework and the proficiency-based language learning continuum, to enhance teachers' foreign language content knowledge of language, literature, and culture, along with appropriate pedagogical practices, and to support teachers in developing academic literacy for English learners. The East Bay Foreign Language Project, as other sites in CFLP, offers 40-hour professional development programs during the academic year. These programs are designed to support teachers working to achieve highly qualified teacher status under the federal No Child Left Behind Act. Teacher participants engage in ongoing activities conducted over time. The program is designed for participation over a 2-year time period, which provides 80 hours of professional development work. There are 2 levels of participation. Level 1 is open to teachers who are new to EBFLIP professional development, those who are new to teaching, and teachers who have had no previous professional development experience, and there are some, may enroll in Level 1. Level 2 provides continuing program participation to teachers to deepen and enhance their academic content knowledge and pedagogical practices. The East Bay Level 2 participants, or the equivalent, are invited to apply to the Academic Year Invitational Leadership Institute. They also may apply to the Leadership Institute provided by the Greater Bay Area Foreign Language Project. The program content in the Leadership Institute supports teachers to become leaders at the school, district, state, and national levels. And outstanding participants may be invited to become members of the EBFLIP, as we are called, Leadership Team Intern Program. We also offer a summer institute during the 3rd week of June when school is out. Participants are encouraged to participate in the annual CFLP Institute held in August at UC Santa Barbara, as well as to participate in summer offerings by other Bay Area sites. Level 2 teachers work in language-alike groups, which is something that is unique, I think, to our site because of the expertise of our teacher leaders. They work with colleagues who speak and teach the same languages. They have the opportunity to continue to grow in their ability to understand, speak, read, and write in the languages they teach. Using adult language theory, EbFlip leaders coach and mentor teachers in activities to develop their specific language academic content knowledge and teaching practices. They use their knowledge and practices to create and implement classroom lessons and to implement appropriate formative and summative assessment tools. Analysis of student work is an integral and important part in supporting teachers' ability to assess and evaluate the impact of their instruction on student achievement. Teachers engage in student work analysis throughout the program year. Sharing their results and debriefing with colleagues and EbFlip leaders provide guidance for future instructions. Teachers also write and share reflections on their instruction and practice. As site director, I work to identify existing Mandarin programs, few though they may be, but hopefully they will be growing, and to encourage other schools and districts to consider the addition of Mandarin to their course offerings. Recruitment of teachers of Mandarin to become part of our EbFlip academic year program is extremely important in my role. If there is a sufficient number of Mandarin teachers applying to be program participants, a Mandarin-speaking leadership team member will provide program activities to Mandarin teachers, participants, and lead them in implementing the California Foreign Language Framework and the principles of instructional design for use in their classrooms. Mandarin academic content, knowledge, culture, and appropriate pedagogical practices would be at the program's core. Mandarin teachers would also be encouraged to apply to the EbFlip Invitational Leadership Institute, as well as to the Chinese or Mandarin Leadership Program offered by the Greater Bay Area Foreign Language Project at Stanford. Participation in the CFLP Annual Summer Seminar would be encouraged. A language-alike group for teachers of Mandarin would provide them the opportunity to practice their Mandarin skills, increase their academic content and cultural knowledge, their teaching practices, and engage in student work analysis and reflection. Leadership team members of the East Bay Foreign Language Project and the Greater Bay Area Foreign Language Project would be available to provide support, coaching, and mentoring to teacher participants at their school sites through contracted services. Thank you for your attention this morning, and if I can answer any questions, please contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice, for giving us a synopsis of one site. Janice alluded to, and I need to move beyond. Okay, fine. Janice alluded to the fact that leadership development is critical. I cannot tell you how critical it is. I mean, it's the lifeblood of everything we do. First of all, in order, and you saw how Jen described the graduation process. First of all, we want those teachers to be stellar teachers in their classrooms. If they cannot pull it off in their classrooms, they're probably not going to be good role models for the people they're going to be working with. So we really want to ensure that those teachers are the best they can be in their classrooms. It doesn't mean that they all have to be senior teachers, but it's good to have models, beginning teachers who can, show what they are able to do as a beginning teacher, as a mid-career teacher, and of course as a seasoned teacher that we all like to see, a masterful teacher. It's really, really critical. We also want these teachers, then the leadership development begins to have these teachers look beyond their classroom. They really need to begin to understand curriculum at the school level, at the district level, at the state level. They need to start looking at the importance of schools offering a variety of languages, the role of languages in society, and think more broadly about everything that all of us work in this room. This is not an easy challenge. To have teachers, begin to look beyond their immediate classroom. That's the world that they know best, and that's the world that they feel most comfortable with. And as Janice will tell you, it's very hard to recruit these teachers to step up to leadership and assume the leadership roles. It's something that Janice and all of our other colleagues and myself work every day, and we work with the district's leadership and the school's leadership, because schools and districts get very nervous when the teachers are sort of being eyed, because we don't want to move those teachers out of the classroom, because we want them to continue to be good teachers in the classroom, but also play sort of dual roles. And we do not want to remove those teachers from the classroom. But it happens. And fortunately, in California, it's very hard for teachers to move in and out of their schools and school districts and assume roles of leadership. So it's difficult, because either they have to leave their classrooms to go play these roles, and then there's one less wonderful teacher in the classroom. So we try to really mediate how a teacher can remain in the classroom and still make the kinds of contributions that Jen described. We also try to have these teachers, again, have a broader understanding of languages. And right now, I'm going to be very honest and candid with you here. Not every single teacher in California is very happy that there's all this happening in Mandarin Chinese and all this interest in Mandarin Chinese. I can tell you that French teachers, German teachers, the Japanese teachers, Korean teachers are feeling a little threatened that the Mandarin program could take over their French program, their German program. Our role is to work with these teachers and say, the more languages we have, there's a lot of students here, only probably about 30%, 40%, and 50% of your students are taking languages. We just need to make sure that we are teaching languages to all students, and that all students will have a variety of options to teach. This is hard, because immediately they see it as a threat. They see students dwindling interest. A lot of the students in French programs, Spanish programs, Japanese programs happen to be Chinese American students. And they really feel that those students are going to, take Mandarin. They should. And we should encourage them to do that. And we just need to continue to build our programs and recruit from other communities. And because there's typically in a school, most of the students are not enrolled in foreign language. But to bring about these kinds of understandings is part of our leadership building of our teachers, so they can advocate. A Spanish teacher will advocate for all the languages in the school. The Mandarin teacher will advocate for all the languages in the school, and will work with the student and his or her parents and community to determine what is the language that makes best sense regarding a career or academic goals that that student has. That's the kind of community we'd like to build, and we need our teachers to work together with the school administration and the counselors in order to develop a comprehensive language program. Time? Question? Is it time? Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll move fast. Almost done here. Now, what is this is probably what you, I need to move. Can I move too fast? No, back. Let's see. No, it's this one here. What is the potential role that we can play with, this new initiative for Mandarin Chinese? The first obvious thing that probably occurred to you is we need to develop a leadership cadre of Chinese teachers to help us do this work. Right now, I have to be very honest with you, we do not have ample capacity in CFLP or in the East Bay Foreign Language Project or any of the other 9 sites. So we need all of the people in this room to help us to identify the individuals that we can bring together to build the leadership. We started that process. We've been working all of this year with a small group of individuals that are coming together with us in order to begin to think, what does a Mandarin curriculum looks like? And there's a lot of people here developing materials and doing program planning. We really, really need to expand this effort if we are going to be a support system to the teachers of Mandarin and make this a priority of our programs. Earlier on, the first panel said that the universities are not doing enough in this regard or haven't done enough in the past. Well, Jen's job and my job and all of our other colleagues in CFLP, we're sort of brokers. We try to broker the academic resources of the university with the K-12 community and see how we can, together, build better programs. It's no different in CFLP than in the math project and so forth, because when we have the seminars and the institutes, we draw upon the academic resources that exist in the university in order to strengthen the teacher's competence in the subject matter. So we try to broker these services and have the communications back and forth and persuade our colleagues in higher education to devote time to working with K-12 teachers, because if we do not have K-12 teachers who are competent, the students that they are teaching are not going to be eligible, first of all, or competent in the subject area when they reach the university. And every university professor wants to have the best students possible. UC Berkeley and Stanford and all the other institutions want the best prepared students to come together. And my time is running off here very, very fast. I'm getting out of the minute. But we really need to work very, very hard to try to aim at all this. A few minutes, I was going to ask you if you had some questions about the CSMP structure, our mission and role, the East Bay Foreign Language programs, or any other of interest. Can we have 2 minutes for questions? Okay. What? Okay. Okay, that's fine. So that's basically what our program is designed to do. And I'm sorry I ran out of time and I had to rush at the end, but I think that working with you, I think we can provide a support system to support the initiative that you are all engaged in here today and hopefully in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Duarte and Janice. I hate to cut off these really interesting and productive conversations, but I know there will be many more to come. And I invite you to have lunch. We're going to have a buffet set up in the Slusser room, which is right behind you. And this will offer an opportunity for some of those informal questions and conversations. We'll reconvene with the lunchtime keynote speaker, Professor Ling-Chi Wong, at 12:15. So enjoy your lunch.